embodying this thing we call joy. And I realized that for me, joy is the confident assurance that all things are working together for my good, the confident assurance. And when I'm reminded of that confident assurance that all things are working out, regardless of what it looks like right now in the moment, I should be able to just feel great about whatever is getting ready to happen, because whatever is getting ready to happen is working out for my good. And so I don't have to live under the stress or the tension that it's not going to happen or it's not going to work out, or I may experience some loss, because all things are always working out for the good. And so I should be able to just walk in joy every single day because it's working out right now.
You know, you don't get me off topic, but you'll get me going on something like this, man. I'm trying to tell you, I told you about doing stuff like this early in the morning, Mr. Beatles. You know, I'm always trying to get this stirred up. Because here's the deal, guys. At the end of the day, man, when you look back over your life, you will actually be able to say all things have worked out for my good. And here's a good example of why I say that. In my journey of going towards my personal legend, and we talked about this, The Alchemist, you don't know this, as I'm pursuing my definite major purpose, which is to develop this school and to continue to teach financial literacy, a lot of times in my mind, I'm like, hey, it's easier for me to go back, right? Which I mean, when I say go back, go get a job, go back to the, you know, the nice income or nice salary, right? It's easy for me to go back. But even when I tried to go back, I was turned down, right? You know, you don't get the interview. You know, so maybe you go to the interview, you don't get a job. And that's the world telling me that all things are working together for my good as I continue to move forward instead of thinking about going backward. And so that gives me joy to know that even though it might be ignoring me, or maybe whatever's happening, what it is the world's telling me there is no going backward. There's only going forward. Like your front view mirror is way bigger than your rear view mirror. So keep looking out the big mirror, look at the big picture versus looking at the little mirror. And that gives me joy, because I'm like, man, even though in my mind I might be saying, or I might be contemplating, I might be thinking about going backward, because maybe that's the easier road, maybe that's the road that I know that going forward, even though it's unknown, but as I move forward, then the vision, what I'm able to see will become more clear, because I'm moving forward. I'm taking a step forward. And we're actually going to talk about that today. So, hey, Mr. Dalton, thanks so much for joining. We are here today on the Wealthy, Healthy, Happy Show. Of course, I am your host, ERGJ, your certified financial educator. We got Mr. Beatles in the building.
What's going on, Wealthy, Healthy, Happy people? This is Mr. Beatles, Mr. Wealthy, Healthy, Happy, your neighborhood financial planner and small business developer. We are in the building today. We got Mr. Dalton right down there at the bottom. What's happening, sir?
How are you this morning? Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here once again to discuss on what we need to do about growth.
Absolutely. And so today we are going through, again, if you don't know, we're in the book, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. And yesterday we kind of got it kicked off, did a little introduction, and we're going to kind of just move right on through to where we are, because we're talking about growth. And so today we start with this, and it came from the growth gap traps. And it says this, it says, if you have dreams, if you have goals, if you have aspirations, you need to grow to achieve them. But you may have some mistaken beliefs that create a gap that keeps you from growing and reaching your potential. So today we're going to talk about these 8 misconceptions, or these 8 growth gap traps that you might find yourself in. And hopefully if you recognize them, then you will actually be able to overcome them. So today we'll talk about the traps. Tomorrow we'll talk about transitioning to growth, and then we'll have an application session later on how you can apply what you learn so that you can overcome maybe some of these traps that you might have fallen yourself in. So the first trap is the assumption gap. And it says that I assume that I will automatically grow. Mr. Beatles.
I assume that I will automatically grow. All right. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday, right? So it's like having it's like we think that subconsciously, we think that growth happens the same way a baby goes from a baby to a toddler, from a toddler to an adolescent to a young adult to who we are today. Right. And in that growth, we didn't have to try to grow up. We just grew. But it doesn't necessarily work like that for you trying to grow yourself mentally, grow yourself spiritually, grow yourself physically. These are things that have to be maintained. These are things that you have to do on purpose. In order for you to maintain that beautiful figure that you have to work at it every single day. You have to be intentional about it because it doesn't just happen, right? Over time, if you don't put the right things in your body, if you don't give yourself some time and attention, things start falling apart. And so when he talks about growing, he talks about feeding your mind, body, and spirit on purpose. And when you feed your mind, body, and spirit on purpose, you will see that things exponentially change in your life. So don't assume that it's just going to happen, because it can't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
What you got, Mr. Dotan?
Yeah, I agree with what you've said. And following up on what you've shared, I think the only thing that automatically happens that we don't really need to work at is death. So
dying.
That's one event that if we choose not to do anything, it will happen to each and every one of us anyway.
Right.
But when it comes to growth, it has to be intentional. It's not a natural process. You have to put certain things in motion in order for you to be able to experience growth in your life. And as you said, there are misconceptions about what we think growth is. Because, for example, some may think, okay, if only I get that next certification, I'll be better. Mm-hmm. I will get better. So we attend all these great seminars, which is good, mm-hmm. but we all know that it's not just attending the seminars that makes you better, mm-hmm. because then if that's the case, oh my, we should have geniuses all over the place.
That's right.
But what we have is seminar junkies, right? Because
I was one.
Because we attend these seminars and get that certification. But what actually makes growth to happen in our life is when we acquire this knowledge, what we do with the knowledge. That's what's going to determine whether we grow or not. If we don't put the knowledge we've acquired to use intentionally, then the growth will not just happen. So that's what I have to say concerning that.
Yeah, nice. I talk about this a lot when I talk to people about finances. I call it leveraging your degree, right? So if you want your life to improve, you must improve yourself. Many people go to school and got degrees and never learn how to actually leverage their degree. So they weren't taught in school about leveraging their resources. They were taught how to get a degree. They were taught how to study. They were taught how to, kind of look at something, remember it, and then put it back down, once you've done it, right? So that's how I got through school, right? I just remembered what was written on the chalkboard, and then I put it down when I did the test, and I got an A. But it really wasn't like, how did I apply that, right, to my life so that I can grow? And so I talk to people about leveraging your degree, because leveraging your degree takes a little bit of thinking outside the box. It takes a little bit of working your ideas. For example, if you got your degree, many times you walk out with your degree and they say, hey, we won't hire you because you don't have any experience. So growing would be, okay, well, while I'm working on getting my degree, I'm going to intentionally get these jobs that are related to the degree for which I'm going at. So when I walk out of school, I've got experience in this field and I've got my degree. That's being intentional. And so don't assume that you're going to grow. Don't assume that you're going to get the job. Don't assume that you're getting to the next level just because you go through some task. Because, again, as you said, Mr. Dotan, tasks don't necessarily mean that you're growing. It just means that you're active. And at least if you're active, you're not dying, right? Because you're either growing or you're dying. But hopefully you can be intentional in your growth and not just in activity. So the next one, man, is, so that's the assumption gap. The next one, man, is the knowledge gap. And the knowledge gap says that I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to grow. Mr. Beatles.
I don't know how to grow. So we make the mistake we make the excuse of saying that I don't know how to do something as our reason for not growing. And so it's the ignorant card that we play sometimes, not understanding that if you just pick the book up, If you just ask the question, if you just knock on the door, if you just begin seeking, you will find. These are these universal principles and laws that will allow you to open your mind, to be enlightened, to do more, be more, have more. But we make the excuse that I just don't know. And because we just don't know, we just can't grow. Well, that can't be, not on this show. So what we have is the 15 laws that we're going through right now because we desire to know, we desire to understand. And the understanding, just the curiosity, wanting to seek out and do more, be more, have more, we will eventually have that thing because we're being intentional. But you can't walk in the darkness of I just don't know.
Any thoughts on that, Mr. Gotham?
Yeah, I don't know how to grow. I say that more as an excuse because it shouldn't be so. And essentially in the context of what we're trying to do, I know there are some materials that are available that people can actually go through some form of self-assessment to see the areas where you have an opportunity to grow. The John Maxwell coaching thing has some self-assessment tools where it asks you are being asked series of questions in different areas of life, and then it comes back with a score to show you where you are in certain areas, and then you can use that as a guide to say, okay, I'm high in this area, I'm low in this area, maybe I want to take this as part of my growth plan or my development plan. So saying that I don't know how to grow in this day and age really it's not it shouldn't be an excuse.
Can't even be an excuse, right? It's like there's no way. We're in the information age. You don't have any choice.
Information age, you know. So just typing up, just Googling, right? Yeah. For example, to say, how should I grow or how can I grow will give you lots of answers, right? So the knowledge gap in this day and age shouldn't be something anyone will sit on to say, I don't know how to grow.
Right.
That means the person's essentially saying, I don't know how to live.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting because I tell people, when I do my coaching, I say, you may not know how to do something, right? Like when I went into business for myself, I didn't know how to edit videos. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, like editing this video when we get done or something, like I didn't know how to do that. That wasn't something I'd ever done before, but that didn't keep me from deciding that, hey, I need to learn how to do this, right? So first, I think the first step is to decide that you want to grow, right? Once you decide that you want to grow, then the next step will reveal itself to you, right? And if you focus on doing the next step, whatever that is, taking the class, coming to a show like this, whatever it is that the next step reveals to you, that's really all you need to focus on, because once you complete that next step, then the next step will reveal it to you. I think that sometimes we say we don't know how to grow because we think about how big our growth will go into. We think about we don't think about the seed. We think about the tall acorn tree, and we say, I can't grow to this 100-foot oak tree, right? And we're at just a little seed at this point. We're a little seedling, but we know that that's the end goal. But we know that there's a process to get to that end goal, and so it's like, okay, well, if we want to grow this oak tree, we know we got to get some water. That's all that you know. You got to have some soil and you got to have some water. Do you have that? Okay, well, you need to go get that. And then you'll start figuring out the rest as you go along. You start coming across people that's going to help you get along your path. Because guess what? When you know where you want to go, man, the world starts working for you and people start coming into your life. And then you start asking these questions. You become inquisitive. You become curious about life, about where you're headed and how you can get there. And then you start to find answers. And so the knowledge gap, as we said, it really doesn't really exist. It only exists in your mind. And if you don't have the knowledge, you can very easily get it, or you can find people that'll help you to get to what you need. Once you start, if you need a business card, guess what? You're going to pop up and find people that do business cards. If you need, graphics or whatever it is that you need in order to move forward, it's going to show up once you decide that, okay, I want to grow. And I think that's very, very important that you do. And so we have the assumption gap, man. We have the knowledge gap. And the next growth gap, as we're talking about the gaps or the misconceptions that might be keeping you from growing, is the timing gap. And the timing gap simply says that it's not the right time to begin. Now, I got a lot to say about this because the only time to begin is right now. Mr. B.
Right now. Hey, I don't have time. You know what? I don't have time to grow. or this is not the time, this is not the right time to grow. How many times do we say that on a day-to-day basis? I don't have time. This is not the right time. I'm too busy. I already have 3 jobs. I can't figure this thing out. I'm not smart enough to go back to school. I don't have time to go back to school. I don't have time to do my thing. I don't have time to live out my dream. And what we're really saying is that I'm comfortable procrastinating. What we really are saying is that, you know what, I'm really good with where I am right now, because to invest effort is going to take too much away from what I'm currently doing. And what I'm really currently doing is nothing. But we're so comfortable in doing nothing that we make the excuse that I don't have time to do more. But if you want to do more, if you want to be more, if you want to have more, you have to make the time. And the beautiful thing is that the reality is that we have more time than is really required to do the things that we desire to really do. Does that make sense? So the effort that we really need to put in to write the book, to set up your blog space, to start your business doesn't take as much time as you think. But where you waste all of your time is thinking about doing the stuff that you should be acting out every single day. So get out of saying, I don't have the time, and just take the time and do the thing.
That's where all the time is lost. All your time is lost in your thinking. All the time is lost in your procrastinating. If you think about as much time as you have misused, and if you take that time and you say, what if I had used it to its maximum, to my maximum benefit? How much further would you be along towards your dream, your goal, your desire, towards becoming whoever you want to be, towards whatever the next step in your life? If you think about all the time that you have wasted each and every day, like, because we all waste time every day. I mean, we find a way to waste it, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. We find ourselves either sitting on Facebook too long, watching TV a little bit too long, getting distracted by something. I think we talked about yesterday, one of the biggest things is, especially as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that's trying to grow, the biggest thing is what distracts you. And I think it's important that you understand what it is that really distracts you. Like for me, I know one of my biggest vices as far as a time waster is playing a game. Like that's a part of I've been playing games since I was 5 years old. That's just what I love to do. But I realized that the only reason why it's a time waste for me because I'm very competitive, and I'll keep playing until I win. That's just how I am. And whether it's basketball, right? I'd be out on the court and playground. You just play to the night, to the moon come up, because you just gonna keep playing till you win. That's how I am. I'm very competitive. So I realized what my time waster can be, even though it's great exercise and it's great to do. I realized I can't do it all day. So you got to find out, what are your distractions? What are your distractors? For some, it might be just sitting in the kitchen all day. For some, it could be at the library all day, doing nothing, reading a whole bunch of magazines, but didn't go to the library to do what you were supposed to go do. Figure out what your time wasters are, and then you'll find out, I do have the time, but am I actually using the time wisely? Mr. Dotan.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it's not the right time to grow. There's never a perfect time for anything, if we look at it that way, because as long as you wait for the perfect time, it's never gonna come. In fact, as Michael Hyatt says, he says, perfection is the mother of procrastination.
Yeah.
Version 1 is better than version none. So just get it out.
I like it. Version 1 is better than version 9.
Just get it out and do it, because there's never going to be a perfect time. It's never going to be perfect the first time. So just do it. Just get it out and just get going. Yeah. Just get going with it. And again, as you've rightly said, perfection is something we just hold in our hearts, right? And it's self-limiting. We sabotage our own opportunity to grow, our own opportunity to succeed by thinking, okay, it has to be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. We are using Windows today, right? Microsoft Windows is still going through its beta releases, right? Even though it's Windows 2012 right now on server, but it's still like a beta release. And they're still going to come out with another release, which is not going to be perfect.
Right.
So Even if the big players cannot get it totally right, who are you to think that it should be really perfect before you get going with what you need to do? So just get it out there and get going.
And matter of fact, man, the platform that we own is on beta. They're going to be doing updates all day. They started this and they always enhance. We added a map since we've been on this. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff that's happening even with the platform. And the same thing with you. So again, I think we have Raz Ryder said his smartphone, his Facebook, Snapchat, WhatsApp were his time distractors. So he went back to a dumb phone. He went and did something about it. Say, you know what? Forget this smartphone. Give me a flip phone. I'm just going to use my phone to make calls and text. Here's the thing, guys. Have you determined, have you figured out what your time wasters are? Because that's where your time is going. And that's what's keeping you from actually starting right now. The thought of, okay, I got to give this up in order to do this thing and sacrifice this, I don't know, this entertainment that I have. Man, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? And we're telling you, man, get started right now. There is a difference between deciding. You've decided what you want to do. Now you just got to go do it. And that's the thing. There's a difference between that, deciding and doing. And so we talked about the assumption gap, talked about the knowledge gap, the timing gap. Man, the next gap is called the mistake gap. And this simply says that I'm afraid of making mistakes, the fear of failure. Mr. Beatles.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one. That's a big one for a lot of people, because we don't want to look bad in front of people, right? And so what we are really saying is that I'm afraid of someone else's opinion. I'm afraid of what people are going to think about me if I fail. If I do what we just talked about and I just decide to do something and then I do it, I take action, and because I'm in beta when I first start doing my thing, it doesn't look the best. And I have to present this to people that are going to have an opinion about what I just presented. And this is a new thing for me. And so there's going to be ridicule. As a matter of fact, I'm ridiculing my own beta stuff, right? That's the excuse that we give ourselves, right? We criticize our own creations so much because it's not perfect. And because it's not perfect, we just won't do it. And so we have this paralysis that starts to well up in us. And again, we go back to it. It takes us all the way back to, I'm just going to think about it. It's not the right time. Now is not the time to do it, because at the end of the day, I don't want to make the mistakes. I don't want to talk about somebody. I don't want somebody to talk about my stuff like I talk about their stuff when they bring it out in beta. Yeah. So you know what? I'm just not going to do it, because I'm not going to get talked about. No, I'm not.
So here's the deal, guys. This one right here, the mistake gap. This is one that I believe that 80% of the people need to be on this call and listening to right now. The mistake gap. I got people that are trying to start businesses. I got people that are getting started in these processes, and they're finding themselves in this place of, oh, I don't want to launch just yet because I don't want to get going just yet because I don't want people to see my website just yet because I don't want to get a business card just yet because it's the mistake gap. Man, I'm telling you, once you get to a place where you're just going to do it, and regardless of, here's the thing, guys, you're gonna fail your way to success. Let me repeat that again. You're going to fail your way to success. You're going to always be falling forward, and you're always going to fall down on your back. So if you can look up, you can get up, like Mr. Les Brown said. You're going to fail your way to success. Everything that you do isn't going to be super successful, but you're going to learn from those activities. You're going to learn from that progress that you're making, and you're going to perfect it along the way. It'll never be perfect. My website is still not perfect. My business card still is not perfect. My processes are still not perfect. Guess what? I still got room to grow. That's a great place to be, because if you don't have any room to grow, you're going to start to what? You're going to start to decline. You're going to feel like you're the number one or on the top of the mountain. And guess what? If you're on the top of the mountain, there's only one place for you to go. And that's down. You're going to fail your way to success. Mr. Dotan.
Yeah, the mistake gap is a very tricky one. And if I look at it in terms of the way the mind works, I think it's really interwoven with the timing gap as well. Because whether it's the fear of making mistakes or the fear of starting, I think they're all embedded in the fear that we need to conquer. And again, it's about having courage to do something. So courage in itself, as they say, is it's not the absence of fear, but you acting in spite of fear. So if we recognize that, okay, these things that are coming up, fear of making mistake, I'm afraid to make mistake, I think it's not the right time to start. If we can drill down to those things and recognize that it's actually some kind of fear that we need to conquer in our subconscious, then it becomes easier for us. And it's usually embedded in the fact that we are too hung up on ourselves. We are too much of ourselves, me.
Too much.
Rather than shifting that focus and that energy to say, how can I be of service to other people? Or how can I make a difference in other people? It's not about me, but how can I, with what I already have, make a difference in the life of other people? Which comes back to even something like the platform we are using right now. If the owners, the designers of this platform were just thinking about themselves, that they really want to look good, we won't have a beta version. But see how these has really been a blessing to everyone in the sense that we are well connected. If the beta version of Blab wasn't there, I wouldn't have known Anthony. I wouldn't have met you, Ivan. We wouldn't have had this platform to share this great knowledge.
Right.
Because the designers of Blab were too hung up on themselves to say, we really need to look good, look professional before we can get this thing out.
Yeah, I mean,
and so that comes back.
You got to think about how much of a risk does it take to create something like this, right? How much money, how much investment, and how much risk does it take to try to pull this off where it works? Right. Yeah. You know, where you got, I'm talking about where it works, where it's actually functional. You know what I mean? Like live streaming functionality. That takes someone to say that, you know, I don't care about failing. What I care about is making a difference. I don't care if it doesn't work right the first time. We're going to get it right. We're going to keep plugging at it until we get it right. It's the same way that the Colonel Sanders did with his chicken recipe and all these other great stories that we hear. The same way with creating an automobile and flying a plane. We're gonna keep crashing until we fly. And that's what I want you to say right now. That's what I want you to think about right now. I'm going to keep crashing until I fly. If you're feeling that message, I want you to type that in the comments below. I will keep crashing until I fly. Now,
give us some props. Give us some props. We are prop.
I know I can talk a lot faster than you can type. So I'm going to wait and see if I got anybody that's going to type that in the comments below. I will keep crashing until I fly. That's what I want you to think about today. So I know you're typing it. I know I'm talking fast. That's cool. I'm going to wait on you to kind of come through. So we talked about the assumption gap. We talked about the knowledge gap, the timing gap, and the mistake gap. The next gap, and I think the last one we'll talk about today, is going to be the perfection gap. The perfection gap. Now, this simply says that I have to find the best way before I start. I have to find the best way before I start. Mr. Beatles.
Man, we just got off that one. That's synonymous with I'm afraid I'm going to make the mistake, right? Because that is the perfectionist in us. That's the person that's saying, you know what, this thing it's got to be perfect. All my I's got to be dotted, all my T's crossed. I have to have had my consultants. I got to have $100,000 in capital before I launch my idea. And until I have that, I can't do it. But again, that's going back to, I got to think about this thing some more, right? That goes back to, I got to procrastinate. You know what? I need a little bit more time. Because it's not perfect. I'm afraid I'm going to make the mistakes. And so I need to go back to school. I got to learn a little bit more. And what we're doing the whole time is we're wasting time instead of just putting it out there, instead of putting it out there to the world, putting it out on a platform like this and saying, hey guys, what do you think? And then allow the feedback to be your mechanism for making your thing better. Put your beta out there. Put the idea out there, even if it's the idea. Be courageous about putting it out there and allow somebody to give you some feedback on your idea. And maybe that turns into, you know what, that's a good idea. Your idea turns into an outline. From an outline, your idea turns into a summary of a book. From a summary of a book, it turns into the first few chapters. Let somebody read that again. What do you think about it? Let them chop it up and then continue that growth process until you actually have a book, hardcover on Amazon that you're selling for $9.99, self-published.
And here's the thing about the perfection gap, man. And I think it's a little bit different than the mistake gap, but very similar because for most people, they may not think about making a mistake. What they think about is having, these perfectionists. They want when they get started, they want to start and finish at the same time. That's what a perfectionist wants. They want to start and finish at the same time. I want to start this thing, finish this thing, and it be super glorious because it's so perfect right now. So I don't have to do anything else to it. I don't have to have a beta or a pilot program. I got the finished product, and this is the finished product. There's no version 2, version 3, version 15. It's version 1, and version 1 is the absolute best. And so we want to start and finish at the same time. And that's not, I'm gonna tell you guys, that is not the thinker. That's not the thinking of a wealthy person. A wealthy person understands that they build wealth over time. A wealthy person understands that there'll be revisions, there'll be course corrections along the way. So get started. Get started today. Put yourself out there. I mean, be courageous enough to put yourself, when I say yourself, your product, your service, or yourself, it depends on what you got going on, put it out there and see what happens. Because here's the deal. The world doesn't know that your product or service isn't perfect. What the world is going to see is you have a product or service and they're either going to find value in it or they're not. You're the only one that knows it's not perfect because you created it. They don't know. They don't know that it's missing a handle. They think this is what it's supposed to do.
They might have some critique for you. They might be like, you're missing something. But that's okay.
Hey, Mr. Dotan, man, any last words for the people, man?
Yeah, I mean, concerning the perfection gap, it's a mind trap thing. And as I said, I mean, just get it out there, just do it. Stop thinking about yourself, because again, it's all embedded in the fact that I want to look good, rather than how can I make a difference in the world out there? How can I even get this thing that I think it's my own idea, but may not really resonate with the people I want to get it out to? Get them engaged in the process early enough. Don't try to make anything perfect, because most times when we try to deliver stuff, it may not be received the same way. So we need to get the input of those who need to engage with our products and our services and ideas, so that they have an input to it and they give us the feedback that would help refine it in such a way that it provides value to them, not making us look good. It provides value to them. And so again, perfection is the mother of procrastination, because once you get into that trap, guess what? It's going to be version none and not version 1.
Right.
Hey, man, I love that. Version 9 versus version 1. I'm going to borrow that for a little bit. I'm going to take a little handle off of that one.
Right.
Here's the deal, man.
Right.
Healthy, Happy show, man. We got the Wealthy, Healthy, Happy net. And that's the place where you can get more information. That's the place where you can dive into this movement of this network of growing people, man. And of course, today we were talking about some growth traps. We're going to pick back up on this tomorrow, because we got 3 more growth traps. And then we got to start talking about getting transitioned into intentionality. Man, that's going to be super hot. So you don't want to miss that. Of course, we're here back again tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern. And so wealthyhealthyhappy.net, that's the place that you want to go. That's going to be a place where you can find resources. That's going to be a place where you can start to connect to the community. And you just kind of follow and see all the stuff that we got going on, from fitness to health to wealth. Hey, these are the 3 areas: fitness, health, and wealth. These are
wealthy, healthy, happy.
So here's the deal, man. I'm your certified financial educator. I want to thank you, Mr. Dotan, again for joining us here today. And hopefully you'll be here with us all week. I'm ERGJ certified financial educator. Mr. Beatles, sign us out, man.
This is Mr. Beatles. This is Mr. Wealthy, Healthy, Happy, your neighborhood financial planner and small business developer. I hope you had fun today, because I enjoyed myself. So this is what we need, man. We need y'all that are up there tuning in every morning. Continue to do what you're doing, and that's sharing it with people that you think might need some of this inspiration in the morning. The website is updated. I just updated that this morning. And so for those that need a replay, make sure that you send people back there. And then I also gave you guys some notes as well, so that you can follow along with the law of intentionality. That being said, we're wealthy, we're healthy, we're happy, and we are out.
Have a good one, guys.